I wonder what you did. With Supervisor Tran? Still looking calm, Jiang-tu took a sip of wine and looked at the girl who was in a hurry to get out of here. I don't have time to play with you right now. This is urgent. I have to go home now. This time he didn't use his hands or feet to stop the girl. But Jiang-tu, standing at the window, simply turned around and asked, "Don't you want to learn how to use the power of my blood?" Sure enough, Tu Lang stopped immediately. She really wanted to have strength like his. So she replayed it curiously about the strength of his bloodline. Not receiving a response from Jiang-tu. I saw his ghost-like eyes staring at me. Tu Lang staggered back 2 steps filled with worry. But the temptation of that so-called bloodline was too great. In the end, she blushed and her eyes widened, but she still accepted. So let's go on a date with him. In Guangdong City, after the prison robbery occurred, the hospital immediately received seriously injured cases of group leaders. Just as he pushed the leader of the mechanical life inside, the doctor heard him mumble something. So he leaned closer and asked him what he was saying. Out of breath, he still tried to say, "Please, Minister." After leaving the 3.000 story prison, Dr. Kiet Min and his bloodline group, led by Chu Tiu Hong, immediately started the research process. Looking at her through the glass door, Dr. Kiet Min couldn't stop moving. It was terrible. The first time I saw such a perverted body. Not scientific at all. The leader paid attention to his every move, constantly reminding everyone not to study haphazardly. His jealousy must have an effect and not damage our king's body. Standing behind Dr. Kiet Min, Coconut Muzzle told him to rest assured. Just believe in Dr. Kiet Min's research. He is the smartest person in our humanity. He didn't care about that flattery. Just focusing on looking at the screen. There were successful cases in the past. But Zhang Si brought it about himself. Even though your king is not human, if you have me, it won't be a problem. Now Zhang Si's genes are just missing. The group of leaders immediately understood. Everyone's faces were distorted. Are you forcing us to pluck Jiang-tu's feathers? Of course there is no such thing. His hair is already less and telling him to pull it out is no different than forcing these people to crawl to death. Right? So what should we do? The 2 people in the bloodline glanced at each other in wonder. Then, the brown-haired girl spoke first. Jiang-tu certainly couldn't give away any hair on his body. Not knowing what the group of people were talking about but not seeing the start of the experiment. Chu Tiu Hong sat up impatiently. Immediately seeing the scene where the Coconut Muzzle reached into his white coat and pulled out a small bottle of green liquid. This trivial matter does not trouble us at all. The 2 bloodline guys jumped up. How could you do that? It was clearly Zhang Si's bloodline. While putting it through another test tube, Kiet Min leisurely replied. Before that, there was someone who took Jiang-tu's genes to check whether his body had become a zombie or not. I told the authorities to take your blood. That's me. Although the method was not very straightforward, the results were extremely reasonable. It's just that the Blood Clan now realizes how sinister humanity is. Holding the finished product, the coconut snout head smiled. Sometimes this spy thing is quite trustworthy, so let's get started. Late that afternoon, when City H began to shine brightly under the night sky, it was also the time when Tu Lang was having dinner with Jiang-tu in a luxurious restaurant. The group leader stared at the zombie in front of him for a long time and came to the conclusion that was it. His ability was not a name. But what if he couldn't return to the way he was before? Are there any side effects? Seeing that the other person had a gloomy expression as if he was choosing what to say, Tu Lang urged him to say something. But as soon as he finished speaking, Jiang-tu turned into his original bewildered expression. This made Tu Lang angry. She rushed over and grabbed his shirt and roared. Enemy, you can't wait until the end of the story before turning back to normal. I gave up a lot of important things to go on a date with you. And you're turning around like that. You irresponsible thing. You grabbed both sides of his chest. That thick shirt just now. Quickly turn it back on for me. Jiang-tu said no means no. I didn't force her. She volunteered. Tu Lang was so angry because he couldn't do anything to Jiang-tu that he punched the chef in the face. Don't give me a kilo of your chili. The city's chili has been destroyed by Minister Tiu Hak. So where can you get it for her? I'll use it again. 2 months later, at the hospital in Guangdong City, Lan KY with a bored face was looking at the person lying on the hospital bed. I've been to the hospital to visit you twice already. This time I was lying in the hospital bed on a ventilator just like the last time. The leader of the mechanical life group asked me about something else. Before I fell into a coma. He told me you guys spread the news. Have you done it yet? Lan KY said. Don't worry, I just received the news that the satellite has been sent out. Emphasizing that it was an emergency. Seeing the person lying on the bed. Silent, she continued, you guys are really useless. There are so many people and there are even voice-controlled nuclear bombs. But you let a girl rob a prison. Speaking of which, the group leader grumbled. This time the enemy was very different. It was clear that the bomb had already exploded, but she had used some method to suppress it. As if she was not a person of this era. Lan KY is also curious. But now she can only wait. I have already transmitted the information and the minister must have received it. The minister she was talking about did not live on the surface like normal people, but in an underground place full of machines and a dark environment. When the soldiers came down to look for the minister, they saw this scene and immediately couldn't stop. They didn't expect that there was still a city down here. Surely civilization wasn't too low. Unfortunately, only ruins remained. After receiving information from the satellite, they went to find someone in a dark corner and called the Minister of Emergency Situations. The minister that those people called was a man with all kinds of machines attached to his body and gray skin. Right now he was staring at a skinny body, lifeless but still able to sit up straight. Not seeing the minister's response, the subordinate moved closer to remind him that something urgent had happened. Dr. Kiet Min, whom we had just captured, had run away. That's when he saw the thing that made the minister stay silent and not answer on the other side. He was startled while the minister's voice was extremely gentle. Yes, this is the corpse of an ancient person. The whole body had 134 broken bones as if it had been crushed by some monster. Knowing it was just a corpse, the subordinate calmed down again, staring at that thing like the minister. He continued, the scariest thing was that all the tissue had been burned so it had not rotted after thousands of years. Now it was just an empty shell that was no longer valuable for research. Out of curiosity, he squatted down and stared at the body, guessing that it seemed like a battle had happened here. Oh my god, the science and technology is so advanced. But this monster is also so strong. Seeing the minister turn away and ask what he said just now, he quickly informed him that the Academy of Extraordinary People had recruited a quite strong group leader. He captured Dr. Kiet Min. But for some reason, Dr. Kiet Min was rescued. Most of the group leaders were seriously injured. Now the headquarters is very dangerous. Fighting strength has seriously decreased. The minister turned around and was about to follow him outside to find out the situation. Suddenly, the soldier discovered something strange under his feet. He used his hand to brush it away, saw a symbol, and gave it to him. Get in there. Suddenly the whole underground area shook like there was an earthquake. They looked around and wanted to see what it was. Without saying a word, in the innermost corner suddenly appeared a figure wearing a blue shirt, making that soldier scared to death that he had been damaged for thousands of years and was still usable. The other person appeared right behind the dry corpse and spoke slowly. It was the first time I saw a person with such a strong body. The panicked soldiers were planning to protect the minister. But, unexpectedly he calmly told them to calm down. This was just a projection. At this moment, looking closely, I saw that the outside border of the cloak was indeed a little blurred. That person spoke again. I can help you become even stronger. As long as you swear to protect my civilization. People, only that projection is speaking. The dry corpse still sat still like a statue. It seemed like the minister knew who that person was. So he spoke very respectfully. Seniors don't need to say this. I just want to learn more about the ancient people and why you perished. A bright screen suddenly appeared above the robed man's head, causing both the soldier and the minister to look up. What caught their eyes was Jiang Tu's face, showing off his finger in extreme drunkenness. At that time, they didn't know that Jiang Tu was the leader of the group and was responsible for City H. They just felt like this image was really serious. From there, the robed man began to tell the story. The Earth did not have just 2 continents like it does now. At that time, the Earth was divided into 7 continents and 8 oceans, with more than one extremely prosperous country. To make humans stronger, we gathered resources and successfully conducted interstellar travel, taking humans off Earth. The power of science and technology has reached an unprecedented level. Stronger humans than at that time can even overwhelm aliens and confidently fight with them. To put it bluntly, the alien science and technology at that time were just like an ant compared to us. Even the underground monsters were nothing at all. We were the only ones who couldn't control them. Can be solved. That person's slow voice made the soldier ask again. Why is that like that? Because of him. That person showed Jiang Tu's face to explain to the two of them. Pensively looking at Kwang Ti's name shown on the screen, it was clear that his photo was not very serious. The soldier leaned closer to the minister and asked in a low voice. Do you think we are being deceived? Just by looking at this thing. You know it has no attack power. The minister dismissed it immediately. The ancients would not joke about it. Hey, do you realize? Since we were born, there has been Kwang Ti. The minister is right about this matter. We built so many academies just to fight against the Gang Ti. Although we always overwhelmed them but still could not completely solve it. Could it be because of this guy? Of course. The minister did not have an answer. So he asked the cloaked man. Senior, what should we do with such a scary creature? The other person said that I don't have much time left. I'm just a person who put memories of my life into AI before I died. At that time, we only focused on developing knowledge and technology. However, our generation has followed a different path than us. It turns out that physical cultivation can also reach different heights, and this has given us hope. Suddenly the wall made of metal rotated strongly to reveal a deep black hole. From inside something was pushed out according to the instructions of the cloaked person. That the physical cultivators plus the wisdom of the ancients could certainly make a difference. The difference that was pushed out was a yellow glove exactly like Thanos' toy. It's just a different color than the purple one like in the Marvel movie, with a few more gems attached. Just like a shop product. Looking closely at that thing, the minister guessed that this was ancient science and technology. The other person did not explain further, and was about to disappear, leaving behind only simple words. Remember, no matter what race appears in the world, only zombies are the greatest enemy of humans. Saying that, the cloaked image disappeared, leaving behind only an extremely eye-catching yellow glove. According to the minister, the soldier respectfully took that thing and bowed to the empty corpse with him. Thank you, senior. We will not disappoint you. On the other side, no more voices were raised. So the minister knew that the multi-dimensional image had completely disappeared. Let's go. These devices are no longer effective. Following the minister now, they will solve the problem of Dr. Kiet Min first. Because in such a large world, it is not easy to find a zombie. Like finding a needle in a haystack. In City H2, Lang had not yet had time to eat a bite when he received an important call. Go back and tell Jiang Tu that she received news that the minister is about to return. All officials are holding a meeting. You have to go too. Suddenly hearing his name, Jiang Tu was startled and scratched his head, wondering who is the minister. Some time later, Kiet Min was still in his shelter doing countless experiments in front of the banana green liquid tank. He smiled happily. Just a little more and we were done. As soon as the glasses caught the extremely unusual flashing blue light, Dr. Kiet Min laughed, ha ha. I have succeeded. Inside the tank of solution was Chu Tiuhong's white hair floating like it was flying. She didn't say a word. And it's unclear how long she had been in that solution. Because the Blood Clan's subordinates were too free to sit and chat with each other. From the beginning of the experiment until now. They opened their hands and dared to be bored. Our whole clan only had 1 coin left. As the big butler of the Blood Clan, I have to do 10 jobs a day but still can't feed you people. This last money is from begging. Suddenly he wanted to cry. He wanted to die, just because the poor monkey kept clinging and not letting go. Suddenly the girl next to me whispered into my hand and called out. Have you forgotten what status we have? If we have arms and legs, why don't we do some side jobs? The leader doesn't like that kind of condescension. Don't talk nonsense. What a side job. I can't believe the girl next to me said she robbed a bank. She looked so calm. When I came here, I discovered a bank with a group of people who worked extremely slowly like snails. It took half an hour to get a number. Their faces were smiling but their work performance was extremely stagnant. Remind the leader with our determination and bravery that it only takes 10 seconds to complete. With our fast speed, the missile cannot catch up with us. After talking and talking for a while, she was able to convince the manager that she just needed to take the money and run away. At this speed, everything would be okay. Just saying a few simple words. The director smiled happily. Okay, that's good. Let's get down to business. At the headquarters of Guangzhou province, full of buildings as tall as skyscrapers, a soldier walked into the ministry's room. The leader reported that all group leaders were present, so he wanted him to start the meeting. Grabbing his superhero-like hat, the minister put it on to fit his face and the whole convoy started to depart. Jiang Tu did not know who was coming to look for him. So he just stood with Tu Lang and the others to welcome the minister. And if the white-haired woman inside this bottle of green liquid knew that those people were gathering together, she would definitely rush out and bite them all to pieces. At the same time, somewhere else, someone was holding a mask with a pig's head that looked ugly and painful. The director squatted next to the person holding the mask, glancing back and forth for a while until he saw the car parked. He pushed the cake in front of him and grumbled unhappily. Why were he so slow? The person up there opened the door for him to step in, telling him he could leave. The leader's head was also wearing a pig's head mask. He had a gun in his hand. As soon as he loaded it, he asked the person in front how they were preparing. There must be no mistakes. In the co-driver's seat was a man wearing an eagle-shaped mask who turned around to confirm firmly. Please be kind. I've investigated and this place has the fewest people. Robbing banks is our profession. A few minutes ago, Tiu Hak was enjoying a nice day out in his modern office. Listening to your subordinates report. Minister Tiu Hak now has the February financial report. While summarizing the year, a group of managers with all kinds of guns jumped out of the car and aimed at the bank built firmly on the main road. But these guys didn't pay attention to the date and place of robbery when they went to rob the bank. The 6 words, People's Bank of Jiangsu, were clearly floating up there. But no one paid attention. Inside, people were tapping statistics. This month they earned more than 435 billion yuan. Which made Tiu Hak very happy. Turn back to look at his subordinates. And give orders. Do the statistics again. There must be no mistakes. As Jiangsu's effective subordinates, we cannot let the city lose a single penny. Soldiers use guns to shoot and kill. But now they are assigned the task of financial statistics. They do it just fine. The finance department is doing an inventory. The city's only bank is in chaos when the bank robbers are inside, threatening everyone not to move. GM Lin sees the money and doesn't care about the mask. No matter what, just smile. Ho ho ho. My hand quickly escaped and I put it in my pocket. Making a fortune. The peaceful scene in Tiu Hak's eyes suddenly appeared a column of white smoke, which was the car tracks of the bank robbers who had just sped out of the bank after scraping a pile of money. The leader held his bag and shouted in the wind, smiling proudly, no longer having to live as hard as a dog. A few seconds later someone reported, something is wrong. Minister Tiu Hak, the bank has been robbed. So one beautiful day passed away. Tiu Hak turned around and roared. What? When the leader's car pulled up in front of a luxurious-looking building. He immediately pulled out the money to enjoy the feeling of the fragrant smell of money wafting through his nose. Who would have thought that within a few seconds, there was an extremely terrifying aura behind him calling his name. This leader. At first, this guy was still stubborn, sticking his head out of the car and looking back, grumbling who called me. But wait, when he realized that this feeling was very familiar, the director saw a figure wearing a suit on the roof of the building staring at him. He immediately sweat dropped, then turned around to see the driver and grabbed the driver's collar and lifted it up. Did you rob some bank? This idiot? The other person trembled and replied, I don't know how to read. The guy sitting in the back seat then opened the encyclopedia and read out the 6 words. People's Bank of Jiangsu. The shroud is gone. The leader is no longer eager to scream or curse. He stuck half his face out the car window and screamed as if someone had provoked him. Tiu Hack's face was like a wild animal looking at its prey. Now, if he made a single move, his neck might be bitten off. Looking down, he threw his arm back and saw a cluster of black things like thousands and millions of insects gathering. According to my order, even though I didn't know what it was, the leaders were afraid of death and had to scream out loud. Let's drive. Are you still waiting to receive a gift or something? He is the most mysterious junior that Zhang Si accepted in 800 AD. Little Black doesn't care if they want to run away or not. I curled my mouth in warning. I don't care what you and your queen want to do. If you want to live, give me the money back. As soon as his arm was raised, the evil look on Tiu Hack's face was clearly visible. He didn't bother jumping down to chase them away, but just punched the roof of the building he was standing on. With just one punch, the towering 100-story building sank dozens of meters, and all the cars of all types nearby were thrown out. The person in the office couldn't say anything, but suddenly felt his legs tilt up towards the sky. In an instant, within a radius of 5 kilometers around the building where Tiu Hack stood, only cars and all kinds of zombies could be seen flying up and down in the air. The leaders were also among them, and now they could only open their eyes and mouths in amazement. Why are you so crazy, Dad? While flying in the air, the driver was still shouting, Boss, the money he just robbed was not enough to repair the car. There was nothing else he needed at this point, but he cried with sadness. Looking out the car window, he saw a shadow. Tiu Hack's huge figure stood under the sky, enough to make all the leaders feel like their lives are coming to an end. But he was still very stubborn, ordering everyone to split up and run away. You guys go back and report to the great king that we have caused trouble. Jumping onto the roof of his car, the leader immediately took a defensive stance, telling his subordinates that I would hold him back. As soon as I saw the shadows of the other guys jumping out of the car and the leader alone on the roof, I started to feel more confident. Good timing. You're both butlers. I also want to see how strong you are. Who would have thought that as soon as he finished his sentence, he was immediately punched by Tiu Hack, making his face sink. You deserve to be on equal footing with me, don't you? Tiu Hack's punch was of such quality that you couldn't see where the leader's 5 senses were. You could only hear a painful scream. The group of juniors were running away because of the loud noise and turned around, screaming loudly to call out to the leader. However, the leader was now blown away like a star passing through the sky. The cry for help gradually became fainter and then died out. No matter how noisy City H is, it is quieter at Guangzhou headquarters, because all the famous faces are here to wait for the most powerful figure of all, which is Mr. The minister in extremely majestic armor is entering. As soon as I arrived at the place where he spoke, I knew that Dr. Kiet Min's team had escaped from prison. Before that, I wanted to announce something important. Looking at his subordinates, he ordered them to press the device to make the platform containing Thanos' golden glove compartment appear before everyone's eyes. What is this? The crowd looked around and knew they were dead. In front of them was the minister's monotone voice, introducing this as ancient science and technology. They all looked at each other with their mouths open in disbelief. Ancient science and technology had appeared here. According to the minister, I discovered it underground in a canyon. When I got it, All information about ancient times disappeared. As soon as the group leader of Kwang Khan Academy heard about ancient science and technology, he burst out laughing. With this, the group of Dr. Kiet Min and the cool-dressed woman are all just fleeting. Right, President Tan? The minister corrected his thoughts a bit. There is no need to use this to deal with Dr. Kiet Min. We will use it to deal with others. According to the description of an ancient human image, on Earth there is a monster who destroyed ancient civilization, leading to its collapse. What kind of monster is that? Everyone listened attentively, but Tu Lang guessed that it seemed like the minister was joking or something. The ancient human race had all perished. Were there monsters that scary on Earth? He just answered yes, looked at the golden glove and was about to say more, when suddenly he saw a head peeking out and staring at it. But at that time, the minister did not pay attention and continued to say that the ancient people said this monster was very dangerous. A monster that could destroy civilization. Warning us to be careful. Tu Lang and Lan Ky asked. Is there really such a monster? Where is it now? How could the minister know? There's not much information, the ancients said. We only know that it's somewhere in this world and we need to be careful. At that moment, Jiang Tu raised his head in confusion and asked, what is the use of this thing? Brother? The minister had not seen his face, only heard his voice, so he honestly replied that there were no instructions but it looked easy, so let me try it. Put it on and press the button here. Finally, the minister concluded. Then we must find this monster to eliminate the disaster. Jiang Tu immediately nodded seriously, saying he understood. But wait for about 5 seconds. Why does the guy wearing the hat below look so familiar? The minister went crazy when he looked down and discovered this hat. It's extremely similar to the description. His eyes stared so intently that Jiang Tu stupidly looked up and looked back at him with a bewildered smile. Fuck him, the minister roared like a young woman seeing a cockroach preparing to take off. He immediately rushed towards the glove in everyone's surprise and Zhang Sis' bewilderment. Right at that moment, the leader was hit by Tiu Hak in a shot that flew from H City and hit the headquarters building of Guangzhou City, causing the entire meeting room to vibrate violently and everyone had to move aside to make way. Something so strange just flew by. A moment later everyone stood up and there was still a lot of smoke lingering in the room. Tu Lang covered his face and tried to look through the smoke to see what had just happened. A minute of silence for the person who was thrown into the wall until foaming at the mouth was the leader, who at this moment no longer knew what was going on between heaven and earth. A streak of light suddenly appeared in the sky of Guangzhou. Then the next person to land was Tiu Hak with a suit that was not wrinkled at all. So he responded once and I responded once, leaving Guangzhou's headquarters with a huge hole still smoking. Tiu Hak still had not calmed down his anger. His arms tightened as if ready to give the leader another blow. But now he doesn't even dare to resist. He can only cry and moan. Your Majesty, please save me. They all rushed outside to see who it was. Tu Lang's footsteps were faster than everyone. As soon as they arrived, they discovered that it was Jiang Tu's junior. He also discovered that it was Tiu Hak and seriously asked what was going on. The robot in front of the minister reported back to him. It was a zombie. Tiu Hak also realized that his boss was there, so he didn't approach it yet. Because of that moment of silence, all the powerful people present in the headquarters immediately rushed to Tiu Hak to attack. The leader of the group was the first to speak loudly. Damn Quang Ti, you're too arrogant. Do you know where this is? Tiu Hak is so scared that he doesn't roar back. You guys don't want to stop me. Having said that, he was dirty. His long legs kicked a shot right into the face of Trong and Gong's group, causing him to twist to one side. As soon as he lowered his foot, Tiu Hak quickly gave the mechanical life leader another blow, sending both of them flying. What's more remarkable is that whether it was a coincidence or intentional, Trong and Gong's group fell right into the same hole that the leader fell into just now. So they reserved a corner right next to the cracked wall. The group of powerful people who were knocked away each went their own way, grumbling. not understanding why we were the ones being beaten. After all, we were the leaders of the group. How could we have to encounter this kind of thing? Only Hugh and Tu Lang stood as if waiting for their husbands. The other guy was the next level of the guy with the chainsaw from before. If the bloodline in the entire human race had an erection, they would beat their faces so much that they would only feel resentful. Stop. Having beaten enough people, Tiu Hak still hasn't recovered. He is now floating in the air with black particles surrounding him. His face set in a grimace as if preparing to strike. That strange black thing flew into the commander-in-chief's room, causing Tu Lang to rush out to block Hugh. Don't touch it. The only person who dared to penetrate those black particles was none other than Jiang Tu, who punched his younger brother in the stomach without mercy, causing Tiu Hak to fold a whole section. It wasn't because he was a junior that Zhang Si's punch was less powerful. Tiu Hak lost control of that black group, thus creating the scene of a whole bunch of people in the command headquarters of Guangzhou City flying everywhere. Toss and hit in all sorts of places. Minister, look at the strength of that group leader. Actually, he saw it from the beginning. At this time, taking the opportunity of the zombies who were rioting outside, he put on a golden glove on his right hand. The group leaders are just like ants in front of him. The ancients were right. He is much stronger than I thought. After beating Tiu Hak, Jiang Tu dragged his younger brother down to the roof of a building. Waited for him to cough a few times. Then, coldly looked up and asked, "Why do you hesitate to stay here, Great King?" Jiang Tu did not explain. Only asked Tiu Hak not to kill them. Right at that moment, the minister's hand emitted an extremely strange light, as if preparing to attack Jiang Tu. However, he only turned around and introduced that person to Tiu Hak. "This is the group's headquarters leader. They are the people at the city level for us." Only then did he feel that something was wrong. When he raised his head, he saw a dark streak in the sky. He thought his eyes were mistaken, but it turned out that it wasn't the sun being covered by something black. In just a moment, the whole surrounding space became as dark as night. People panicked and asked each other, "Is it you who did it, Minister?" But he said no, it wasn't me who did it. How could a total solar eclipse appear so simply? Everyone was staring but no one had an answer. Suddenly appearing under the now black moon was the beautiful figure of Chu Tiu Hong. Dressed in a strapless shirt and jean skirt to avoid being exposed in front of the children. At this time, the whole city of Guangzhou poured into the streets to discover someone flying above. Clearly a sign that something was wrong. The minister silently waited for the authorities to report because there were many people here who did not know who she was. Mac Hung and the others knew clearly that it was that woman. But before she could tell everyone what kind of person Chu Tiu Hong was, she gracefully walked over with a sinister smile on her lips. "Haha, I'm invincible." On the roof not far away, the silhouettes of the Blood Clan jumped up and down to find the leader. From beginning to end, he did not dare to move, imprinting his pitiful face on the cracked wall, only daring to signal SOS from afar. "Hurrah, help me." The brown-haired girl immediately called her subordinates to come forward to deal with them and save the leader. Who would have thought that the two guys wearing Arctic shirts were grabbed around the neck by the minister's strong arms very easily? The reaction and collision caused the headquarters to explode again, completely attracting the attention of Zhou Zhaohong in the distance. She scowled and looked in that direction to see a guy wearing armor with a V-shaped helmet giving orders to his subordinates. "Soon there will be chaos. You quickly lead the residents out of this city and leave this place." To me, the white-haired girl looked down on him. Humans shouldn't worry about money anymore. As soon as I turned around to look, I saw the minister's golden-gloved fist rush in, almost smacking me in front of his right cheek. When such a beautiful person was slapped, Chu Tiu Hong couldn't stand it. So he quickly jumped up, spread his crotch, and slapped him in the face. Hugh's group was far away and heard a clear whooshing sound when the leg collided with the minister's face. And this was also the first time they saw him being directly injured by someone. Jiang Tu was still standing at Tiu Hak's place and did not leave, making De extremely confused. Dai Vong. They are fighting. Simply reach out to block Tiu hack. Zhang Tu doesn't want them to get involved. It has nothing to do with us. In the darkness of Guangzhou City. At this time, the back and forth fighting between two people of different races was clearly visible. As if it were the curtain for a solar eclipse. Moments later, the moon gradually left, returning the bright sun to the sky. The minister landed, not far away, and glared at the enemy. I will deal with you first. Then deal with Zhang Tu later. The words were decisive, but in Xu Tiu Hong's ears, there was no agreement at all. She just thought that this person was too arrogant. As for the masses watching, they don't understand why Zhang Si is mentioned here. That golden arm was exposed, only to see thunder shooting out in all four directions. No different from Superman Gao's transformation. The minister had decided on a move that would decide victory or defeat. And that white hair was also happy to come forward. Jiang Tu looked at Xu Tiu Hong's stubborn look as he approached the opposite direction. It was exactly what I wanted. If it was good, then jump in. He was on the left and she was on the right. The two shot at each other with a punch thrown. On Xu Tiu Hong's face was an expression of undisguised hatred. The minister's golden hand was not exposed at all. So it swung straight forward and collided directly with the other bare arm. I just let the chickens watch. The aftershock alone sent them all flying out of the chicken coop. Very quickly there were results of the punch. The golden arm that the minister was always proud of was now curled up in the wind like a discarded item. And he himself was beaten a meter away, his figure blurred in the wind, looking like someone who had lost his color. The minister was thrown into the building behind and heard a loud explosion. But he did not die but stood up, breathing tiredly. Xu Tiu Hong was in no hurry to say anything and just stood there scowling at him. Damn, what the heck is ancient science and technology? It only has the appearance. Just a little collision and it's like this. The minister angrily muttered. If I had known that, I would have beaten him myself. Xu Tiu Hong is no stranger to that kind of strength. Thousands of years have passed. And you are the strongest physical human I have ever met. If people born 1,000 years ago used this science and technology, we don't know who would die. Unfortunately, she blurred right before the minister's eyes and then reappeared almost an inch right across from him. Open your eyes and look. Xu Tiu Hong's fist was already very close. But before she could put her hand on the minister's face, there was a gust of wind rushing past her back. It was Tu Lang with her famous sword sweeping a large circle. Almost cut off Zhou Zhaohong's head. Luckily she jumped out in time. You messed with the wrong person. Standing on the opposite side was a soprano voice that made Xu Tiu Hong squint to see which one it was. Your opponent is me. Tu Lang put the sword behind her back and stood in front of her. At one point, when I raised my head, I saw that my entire iris was black. Only my two pupils were red. What is that? The first time Lan Ky saw this form of Tu Lang. Was it no different from Xu Tiu Hong? Almost all eyes turned to the group leader. Only a brown-haired girl from the blood clan hurriedly went to find the leader. Unfortunately, that hair was grabbed by Hugh's hand from behind and crashed into a building. He pushed the brown-haired girl's head down so she could clearly see her black irises and red pupils. She howled in terror. Oh, what is this? Glancing over there to see a person with a familiar appearance, Xu Tiu Hong was still stunned when he saw Hugh holding the brown-haired girl's neck and turning around to look at him. So it soon formed an isosceles triangle. Understanding in the middle, Uncle Tiu Hong's next opponent is Tu Lang. Apart from the slightly different eye sockets, the group leader's appearance has not changed at all. Currently she is the only one capable of carrying the team. The minister lying flat on this wall could only watch with wide eyes. The leader of the mechanical life group just woke up from a faint and discovered that his familiar Tu Lang now looked so strange. No one in the room knew what the answer was. Everyone stood there dumbfounded. The brown-haired girl was picked up by her collar but still screaming. Damn you, don't look down on people. Before she could finish her sentence, she skillfully flipped Hugh's hand in 2 circles. away from this girl with her hair tied in two buns. Turning around to look at his enemy with interest. Hugh looked both strange and scary. But this brown-haired girl hasn't understood yet. Thinking that it's just an act. I'm not a small-minded shrimp. Don't think I'm easy to bully. So if you're good, prove it. Hugh stood there waiting for her to turn around and counterattack. But about 2 meters away, Hugh's legs kicked straight onto her chin, causing her to fall back. I was so unsteady that I almost fell. Just waiting for that. This little girl with her hair tied in 2 constellations crawled on the ground like a witch who had just floated out of a well. This fight already had a place for Hugh, so she didn't hesitate and shot from where she was standing, aiming for the brown-haired girl and giving her a shot that would dislocate her jaw. The group leaders looked and were surprised. Since when did Hugh become so great? The brown-haired girl had to bend her arms down to support herself. She was about to do a flip around in a banana position. But unexpectedly she got so dizzy that she almost fell backwards. Seeing that something was wrong, she still put her hand on the ground. She immediately turned a little blood in her palm and cast it. The blood chariot split. From there she saw a bunch of people flying in the sky. Hugh immediately understood that this was a blinding technique. But the girl's eyes didn't even move. Her legs and she kicked straight into the brown-haired girl's stomach, causing her to bend 90 degrees. The strength disappeared, so the entire clone also dispersed in the air and disappeared completely. Whoosh. He coughed and asked in confusion. Is this guy really human? Nearby, Master Tiu Hong saw that the situation was quiet and immediately drew a bright red line in the middle of nowhere. On the opposite side, Tu Lang turned her sword extremely skillfully as she swung it to the right. The airflow from somewhere was like a sharp knife, passing in the direction where Tu Lang had just swung her hand, immediately slashing. All high-rise buildings are divided into 2 very distinct pieces. Loud rumbling sounds rang out alternately as the entire building of Guangzhou City was cut into 2 halves by her. However, the cut was so precise that the building only tilted a little and did not fall. As soon as the top part of the group staggered to stand steady, they walked towards the door and looked wonderingly. Too strong. Is Tu Lang that fierce? Is something wrong? Why does this state look like a different person? Chu Tiu Hong stood opposite her, so he quickly understood. So that's it. So you were also enhanced. Unfortunately, you are not the person I want to find. I want to find Zhang Si to clean up. Old shame. Closing her eyes gently, when she opened them, Chu Tiu Hong's pupils had changed. Her whole body was burning with murderous aura. I have been waiting for this moment for 1,000 years. My strength can crush you. You are not my opponent. I advise you to leave here and block the way. Chu Tiu Hong's momentum rushed towards Tu Lang like a whirlwind, but she did not slow down for a moment and responded stiffly. You're right. My strength can't be equal to yours. Even if I use stimulants, I can't fight back. But I don't agree that you can defeat Zhang Si with that. Let me show you something. This is cool. Tu Lang's mouth opened into a smile, making Chu Tiu Hong suddenly look at him. Something interesting. Her left hand raised to cover her face as if she was scratching something that fell off her face. But when she woke up, she saw a cruel smile on her lips. My second form. Smooth skin. Tu Lang suddenly fell apart like pieces of glass. The side of his neck began to be replaced by white bone-like membranes growing more and more. She raised her face high, not knowing what she was doing. But everyone could smell danger. Lan Ky asked the group leader on the life side. He asked her back. In general, no one knows what tricks the child plays. He suddenly threw his hand back, causing even Chu Tiu Hong to widen his eyes and watch to see what he was doing. The air where Tu Lang was standing was suddenly distorted as if there was a whirlpool drain. Purple-red air streams from the beginning rushed through the entire building where the headquarters of Guangzhou City stood. When she looked closely at Chu Tiu Hong's eyes, she was extremely surprised. She said that the second form was not wrong, because Tu Lang's face was now covered with a layer of white bones and 2 pairs of sharp horns. No different. Nothing evil. On top of that, she also pretended to not have lined her upper and lower lips, which somehow didn't look like a human.